Thank you very much, Professor Ortega, for the kind invitation. It's a great honor and pleasure to be back to Georgetown University. I came almost a year ago when I presented in the annual symposium on Arabic linguistics that Dr. Mahmoud Azaz kindly organized successfully. When Dr. Ortega reached out to me to give a talk in the multilingual initiative, I have been thinking about Arabic dialects. What I have been thinking over is to try to find a way to bridge the gap between research and practice. By research, I mean what happens in the classroom, what happens in the classroom setting, the conversational analysis, the interaction analysis that happens within the classroom, and how we should develop some insights, critical insights, that connect that to material development. That's the so what question that a journal like Applied Linguistics is interested in. We should be thinking of innovative ways of how we should help teachers, material developers, also learners, how they should approach the Arabic language from a different perspective. Dr. Ortega kindly now talked about a course that she's teaching, Decolonizing Linguistics. And in the context of Arabic, I'm going to refer to this about that prestige and power that we always give to standard Arabic, but ignoring the rules of Arabic dialects. Ignoring looking at Arabic dialects as a strategic resources that learners can use even in learning the standard variety of Arabic. Nowadays, I think we are way too much beyond the standard language ideologies that focus on teaching standard only. Arabic dialects are strategic resources. Once the learners are given the space to bring in them to the classroom, they will play a big role in facilitating the learning of standard Arabic. And today's talk is going to anchor on these two key questions in the field of Arabic. I know Dr. Ortega has a big team. They have been really helpful in organizing this and agreeing on the details. This work has been a team work with 3 collaborators. I would like to acknowledge their contributions to different segments of the big project. So with Yusra Abu Rihab, we are working on multilingual practices in the context of Arabic heritage language learners. Those that come to learning a standard Arabic, the standard Arabic variety, or they are learning Arabic as an L2 in a classroom setting at the university level. So we look at Arabic heritage language learners in these 2 intertwined settings. I would like also to acknowledge the contributions by Ibtisam Morabi. We share the interest of the role of multilingual practices in the context of content-based instruction. If you look at these 2, here we are looking at a very particular context where the learners come with a unique linguistic profile, and I will demonstrate from research how so. Here we are looking at those who already covered the 3 years of Arabic, and now they are taking a content-based course, most likely in linguistics or in literature. We are making the argument again that although someone may assume that by the time you are taking an advanced Arabic course, you should be focusing on standard that's used in negotiating meanings in high topics. We're going to show the Arabic dialects play a big role even in this context. And with Ayman Mohammed at Michigan State University, we are working on a couple of projects that speak to the practice. What about textbooks? What about open sources? What about modules? How can we help teachers to use the materials that we are going to develop, or we are currently developing, to develop the multidialectal competence? How can we give teachers specific tools and materials that they can use to facilitate classroom interactions? The framework that I use for this research depends on the multilingual turn in applied linguistics. I've been reading lots of interesting insights about how we researchers in applied linguistics should change our practices of analyzing the classroom discourse. How having different multilinguals within the same classroom setting should help us to understand the dynamics of classroom interaction, and how we should analyze classroom discourse in innovative ways, in untraditional ways. I'm going to talk about 2 contexts in which I conducted research. The first is the heritage language context, focusing on the negotiation of linguistic knowledge, lexical and grammatical. And the second context is in content-based instruction. Today, I'm going to talk about literature, although we have a current project working on content in the context of Arabic language variation from a linguistic perspective. We are making the same argument again in literature and in linguistics. I'm going also to talk about what do teachers think of all of this, because teachers are the frontliners. You cannot talk about changing the practice or changing the field without reaching out to the teachers and getting their insights, trying to engage in a conversation with them. And with this, I use Bakhtin, the ideological becoming a framework, how we should really help teachers to adopt a new discourse, how we should help them to look at things from different perspectives. And in the implications, I'm going to give very specific material development projects that I have been developing with Ayman in this regard. I think we all agree that nowadays, there is no single classroom setting that has only monolinguals. And I can ask the question now, how many of you have heritage Arabic language learners in any Arabic classroom that you are teaching? I think the answer is so many. Nowadays, having only one category or one group of learners does not really hold anymore. We are surrounded by language learners who speak different dialects of Arabic, who speak different languages, and they are already in one classroom setting, and this really poses so many challenges for the Arabic language teachers or instructors broadly defined. How we should change our methods of classroom interaction to accommodate for their needs. The proponents of the multilingual turn and applied linguistics, like May 2013, they are making an argument that the monolingual ideologies that have been in place for decades in foreign language education should change. And if you think of the context of Arabic, nowadays we have learners who are taking standard Arabic and they covered or they speak at least one Arabic dialect. How we should get beyond that monolingual ideologies that look at the instruction of Arabic, our context, from the standpoint of teaching only the standard variety, which is standard Arabic or MSA, modern standard Arabic. And I think Crease and Blackledge, they made a couple of interesting arguments that relate what we should be doing in our classrooms to what's happening at the macro level. Nowadays, I think we all agree that mixing and hybridity are starting to be common norms in post-modern societies. Immigration, flux of migrants in and from so many countries have created all these different hybrid language forms. Speaking of education, when you put all of them in one classroom setting, you end up by having so different resources, so many languages that all come to learn a dialect, a standard variety of a language, or at least one language. The question is how we should change the classroom discourse, change the analysis to take the multi-dialectal competencies that they bring as the basis of the discussions, at the basis of the classroom analysis, and also at the basis for developing the materials. Of all the multilingual practices that we read about, I use translanguaging. And translanguaging is kind of a new term that's gaining the momentum nowadays. It started, if you know about the history of the term, in like 1994, by Williams to refer to a practice where learners can read something in English and then discuss it in Welsh, or the other way around. But since then, the concept of translanguaging became a theory for language practice, and also it became a pedagogy that's termed in the literature as the translanguaging pedagogy. Translanguaging, briefly defined, refers to this discursive practice that includes code switching, code meshing, translation, shuttling between or among multiple varieties or languages in the same classroom for the purpose of negotiation of meaning broadly defined. If negotiation of meaning here means meaning in a linguistic sense, like when we talk about the meaning of a word, or the negotiation of a complex construct, like identity and religion in upper division language courses. And many scholars, including Ophelia Garcia and colleagues, Lewy and colleagues, they have been presenting this as a new theory of language practice that has a transformative power. It has a critical role to play, because once we open the space for the linguistic resources that second language learners bring into the classroom, this could transform the classroom setting. And that's part of the trans component of the word. It could change, could create transformations in how we should look at language. But taking translanguaging as a framework, it means we should also get beyond the very specific rigid boundaries of linguistic features that we already identify dialects or languages with. By this, we are now looking at all the linguistic resources that learners bring to the classroom as integrated repertoire. They have all these different information, knowledge from different dialects, different foreign languages, and then they are utilizing all these to negotiate meaning if it's already in a linguistic sense or in other contexts like literature and linguistics. So translanguaging is starting to make a new move into linguistics, how we should look at language as a means of communication. We are not here talking about the segregation of all these languages like Egyptian Arabic or Levantine Arabic or Standard Arabic, and this is considered the weird mix between Levantine and Egyptian or between Egyptian and Standard. We are looking at all these varieties of Arabic as strategic tools that second language learners use with some degree of awareness, and we will see, to negotiate the meaning. Because recently we have a good number of theoretical debates about the term. Jim Cummins made an interesting case that there may be some theoretical perspectives that need to be really considered before we adopt translanguaging as a theory. But today I'm going to show the potential of that new practice and then how we should adopt it in teaching Arabic as a foreign language. Why Arabic is interesting in this discussion? Arabic is interesting because, as most of the audience here know, Arabic is a diglossic language, which means it comes with so many dialects, and we have the standard variety. The representation here that I am presenting as a tree to indicate the relationship between the standard and between the dialectal varieties is very interesting. We have been all the time looking at standard as the high variety, and looking at the dialects as the low varieties of Arabic, assigning power and prestige to standard and lack of power or prestige to the dialects. But if you look at the representation here, the dialects are really the root of the language. They are the core of the language because we already communicate in the dialects. The secondary discourse, the dialects, is actually the primary one in most of our daily life conversations. How we should focus only and only on standard Arabic or the high variety. We also try to associate this with the Arabic identity, although this construct of who is an Arab in the context of the Arab world is so complicated. We have been associating this to Arabic, standard Arabic. But what about a person who is Egyptian and speaks Arabic? So we have a good number of research in identity studies, and Yasser Suleiman is making a case that Arabic played a role in shaping the Arabic language identity. But when you look at the regional identities in the Arab world, the question is so complicated. It is not a clear connection between the Arabic language as broadly defined as a standard and between the different identities in the Arab world. So given that complex relationship between standard and between Arabic dialects, what could translanguaging help us to accomplish? What could it do to our second language learners of Arabic and also to heritage language learners? We are looking at two contexts, quite distinct with so specific needs. The first is Arabic heritage. And I know the word heritage in Arabic is also so complicated, so complex. Who is a heritage Arabic language learner? Are we talking about the child or adolescent or a second language learner of Arabic who made it to the college and they speak a dialect at home. Or we are also looking at populations who come from Indonesia, Malaysia, Turkey, who also have some association or connections to the Arabic language for religious purposes. But there has to be an agreement that we look at Arabic heritage as those who were speaking a dialect at some point of their life, and then they migrate to a new context. Let's take the US as a case, and now they are speaking English as maybe an added L1. Over time, attrition happens to the dialect, and they start to speak English as a second language. We know from research that this particular group of learners are quite distinct from L2. An established work by Abbas bin Ma'moon, Abdel Kaif al-Baridi, Ibrahim Sha'rani, and so many, they already make interesting cases how their linguistic profiles are quite unique. They proved this in agreement systems, in plural formation, and in so many other things. But one interesting conclusion that could be made from this line of work is how we should use their linguistic profiles as strategic tools in learning the Standard Arabic. It's an advantage that they may have over a second language learner who does not come to the Arabic language setting with a dialect. Doing this, we conducted a study with Yusra Abu Rihan in the Muslim Community Center in Tucson. This is a center known as Madrasat al-Ahad, the Sunday school, where kids, adolescents for the most part, come to learn Arabic as a heritage language. The context is so diverse because you get basically kids and families from different backgrounds: Syrian, Iraqi, Egyptian, Palestinian, Somali, Sudanese, all these different families that have association of some sort to the Arabic language and Islam. The standard ideology in that place is the kids are here learning Arabic or learning Standard Arabic because it is the marker of the religious identity. The assumption is you speak a dialect at home here, you are completing the missing part, which is learning the Standard Arabic to be able to understand Islam, read the text, and to pray. We are arguing that even in that context, there is a possibility for utilizing these local dialects or vernaculars that the learners or the adolescents come with that would help them to learn Standard Arabic. So we look at the functions of translanguaging practices in teacher-teacher interactions and in teacher-learner interactions. And for doing this, we adopted classroom interactions or classroom discourse analysis, basically analyzing the conversations, CA, conversational analysis, where we recorded sessions and then we already put a script looking at the turn taking between the teachers and between the students, and sometimes learners and learners, to try to see how they really speak Arabic, how they negotiate knowledge in Standard Arabic using their own dialects. And the focus here was on the lexical and the grammatical components of a Standard Arabic. So we're looking at how dialects are used to facilitate learning the Standard Arabic variety. Apparently, they use a textbook that's heavily focused on Standard Arabic that's called Aqra or Iqra. And it's very colored, very nice. It speaks to the age of the adolescents, but it focuses for the most part on Standard Arabic. It has been selected for that particular purpose, where those adolescents are here to learn Standard Arabic, so we should adopt a textbook that focuses mostly on Standard Arabic. What I'm going to present here are scenarios or interactions between the teacher and between the students who speak different dialects. I will read the script first, highlight a couple of things, and then see the rules of translanguaging or using different dialects and also English to facilitate the acquisition of linguistic knowledge, if it's already lexical or grammatical. You see here, the teacher is starting by a sentence. She is presenting here the concept of the conjugation of the verb ذهبت, هي ذهبت, she went. And also the word دكان in Standard Arabic, which means store. We all know that Arabic dialects use different verbs here instead of ذهبت. We have راحت, مشت, فلت. We have different words in Arabic dialects that mean ذهبت in standard Arabic. And for دكان, which is standard, we have also بقالة, بقالة, store, supermarket. Different Arab countries use different words to refer to the word دكان, which is a bit closer to standard Arabic. Al-Jahiz used the word دكان in his writing. So it used to be a word that's associated with classical Arabic. Let's read the interaction first. The teacher says she was thirsty in English, not in Egyptian, not in Arabic. The teacher was Egyptian. And then Rana, she said, yeah, عطشانة. And then the teacher said, هي, she went to the shop or the store. Rana speaks Egyptian Arabic, said, هي راحت للستور. So she used the word راحت from Egyptian Arabic and used the word store from English and already used this intersententially, هي راحت للستور. Keep in mind that the strategic focus of the teacher on the verb ذهبت with the accurate Arabic morphology, but the teacher is trying to walk the students using their own resources to make it to the conjugation of the verb ذهبت, which means she went. Okay, we're going. The teacher said, بالمصري ازاي عايزة تقوليها بالفصحى راحت. راحت is already in Egyptian. What about if you'd like to say this in standard Arabic? Rana, who is Egyptian, she said مش هقولها بالفصحى. She knows it. It's like kind of a dialectal identity. I know it, but I will not say it in standard. She's identifying herself as a speaker of Egyptian Arabic. The teacher, very kind and patient, she said, راحت يعني إيه بالفصحى. And the teacher here is using the Egyptian Arabic. راحت يعني إيه بالفصحى. What does it mean in standard? Rana said, مشت يعني راحت. She went back to the word مشت, which is dialectal to mean she goes. And then the teacher says, مشت وراحت بالعامية. كيف تقولين راحت بالفصحى? Yet the teacher is getting into كيف تقولين. How would you say this in standard Arabic? Amani, she said this in standard Arabic, ذهبت. And when we are putting things in uppercase, it means we are highlighting the intonation, all these different things that we do in conversational analysis. Then Rana said, هي سورية وأنا مصري. She is Syrian and I'm Egyptian. Like that's the word that you would hear if you are in Egypt, راحت. And then you have مشت. That's already kind of Syrian. هي سورية وأنا مصرية. Making it clear that we have a word for this in Syrian and another word in Egyptian. Then the teacher said, طيب حد يعرف يكمل to the store? Does anyone know how to complete the sentence and make it to the store? She's like getting into the word دكان. And then Rana said, soup market. Adam said, supermarket. And then Ahmed said, بقالة. They come from different backgrounds. And then Rana said, بقالة. And then the teacher announced that all of these are good. All of these are correct. دكان is the closest to فصحى. So she's making here a conclusion of that interaction. Now we know مشت, راحت, and ذهبت. Now we know دكان, بقالة, supermarket, but دكان is the closest to standard Arabic. The point behind this interaction is the teacher was strategically using the different dialects that the heritage language learners speak to walk them through a meaning negotiation process of how to get to the verb ذهبت, which is not used in any Arabic dialect, and also the word دكان, using synonyms that they already know, using knowledge that they already know, building on this to get to the point. In a second excerpt, the teacher here is talking about the word pediatrician, which is an interesting word in English. It's when you translate pediatrician, there is no single word to pediatrician already in Arabic. You have to do this as a construct state, إضافة. So you say طبيب أطفال. It's like doctor children, and that's pediatrician in Arabic. Now we will see how the teacher is negotiating the meaning of pediatrician from English and how she is using English and the students' dialects to come up with that connection between pediatrician and the طبيب أطفال. And Walid, who speaks a dialect, he's talking about the family picture, and then the teacher is introducing طبيب أطفال within that presentation about family. هذه صورة أسرتي، أبي اسمه سامي وهو طبيب أطفال. He is reading from the textbook, طبيب أطفال. She got already that he doesn't know طبيب أطفال. And she said, هذه means, what does that mean to you? And then he said, هذه means this, but it's a female هذه, it's the feminine هذه. Arabic distinguishes in the demonstratives between هذا and هذه. هذه surah, I don't know. And then he said, هذه means this, but it's a female هذه, I don't know. And then we read my family's picture. And then the teacher said, look at the linguistic structure of Surat Usrati, which is also an idafa phrase, but has a different semantic relationship between the head and between the complement. And then we read my family's picture. This picture is my family. And then the teacher, again, to make sense of it, what does it mean? And then this is my family's picture. Like connecting family's picture, which is the idafa, which is also the case of a pediatrician. And then the teacher, yes, أبي أبي أبي, then he continues, أبي اسمه سامي وهو, and he doctor. He doesn't know pediatrician. He doesn't know طبيب أطفال. He's not connecting here طبيب أطفال to the job of his father. That's kind of the sentence that they are reading. He didn't make that association yet. And then the teacher said, what does أطفال mean? Does أطفال mean? She's using the question, asking the question in English, and integrating the word أطفال from Arabic in the question itself. And then we read children, and then children, children's doctor, pediatrician. When you got the clue that the teacher is trying to build up on طبيب and build on an أطفال to come up with the correct translation for pediatrician. But also using the structure of idafa, which Surat Usrati, which has a different semantic relationship between the head and the complement. But by the end, the teacher was trying to accommodate to the idafa phrase from Surat Usrati to the case of Tabib Atfal. So the point here is the teacher was basically mixing modern standard Arabic and English to try to help the students to discover the meaning of the word pediatrician in Arabic, Tabib al-Atfal. But to do this, she used a common idafa, Surat Usrati. She used English, and she used the standard Arabic. On the third, the teacher was introducing numeric constructions and the subjunctive in standard Arabic. And she was also trying to use the students' native dialects as they negotiate the meaning or the structure of these two components in Arabic. Let's see, we have the teacher, it's your turn, and the teacher is asking Sumaya, who speaks an Arabic dialect, to talk about herself. And here is what Sumaya said. Assalamu alaikum, ana ismi, and then she stated her name, ana mawluda. And it's common to do mawluda and not ana wulidtu in the dialect. Ana mawluda, ana 14 سنوات. I am 14 years old. You know, in numeric instructions in standard, you say عمري أو عمري 14 سنة. So we use the singular one and not the plural one. So that student here is using the English to try to come up with the meaning of the sentence. أنا عمري 14 سنة, and interestingly she corrected this the second time. مولودة في القاهرة في مصر, born in Cairo in Egypt. أنا أسكن في, and then she said اسم المدينة, and then she said أنا ساكنة في. She's basically fluctuating between the standard, which is أسكن, and between اسم الفاعل, the present participle form, right? The active participle form, and a ساكنة from Egyptian Arabic in the same sentence. Apparently, the student is aware that ساكن, أسكن, and ساكنة, these are two distinct forms, and she's combining them back to back. في ولاية, and then she states the name itself. أحب أن أنام وآكل. أنا أحب أن أنام. بحب أنام. We know in the subjunctive in Arabic we use the particle an in the standard Arabic, but this particle is already dropped in the dialect. So you see أنا أحب أن, and then you see بحب, and then بحب آكل. You don't see بحب أن آكل in the dialect. So she is continuing this, using both of them in the same sentence. أحب أن أنام، بحب أنام، أنا أحب أن أكون مع أصحابي في مدرسة الأحد. I would like to be with my colleagues or classmates in the Sunday school. And then the teacher said to Reem, and you, Reem, the teacher noticed here that the student is using both of them, but want to make sure that the students are aware of the correct form of the subjunctive in standard from the dialect. And then Reem said, أنا عمري 13 سنة, again in the dialect. أنا ولدت في لبنان. أنا أسكن في ولاية, and then she states the name where she lives. أحب أنام وأطلع مع. She uses أطلع, which means to go out, أذهب. And then she already got an interruption from Sumaya. Sumaya understands that there is a difference between أحب أن أنام and أحب أنام in the dialect and the standard. And then Sumaya provided the standard Arabic subjunctive, which is أحب أن أنام, المضارع المنصوب in standard Arabic. So when the teacher walked them through the two, giving them the space, the teacher did not interrupt, did not say one is correct and one is incorrect. She didn't say, here you are learning standard Arabic, so you should stick to the subjunctive with the particle N. The teacher let the interaction go. It helped the students to communicate using their own resources, but meanwhile, she already hinted to Sumaya, and then Sumaya already gave the correct one, أحب أن أنام, making it clear that the subjunctive should have the particle N in Arabic, and then the teacher again confirming that this is very healthy, saying that it's good, it's correct. The point here is the teacher is opening the space to the dialects of those heritage adolescents, and she is using them strategically to build on their previous experience, their previous language knowledge, speaking an Arabic dialect, and how this should be used in learning standard. So for the sake of time, I want to basically skip this and I want to talk more about the second context. And I think that the point from the first context is clear. We should give some room to the dialects that students come with to the classroom setting. It should, or they should be good resources as they navigate knowledge in standard Arabic. The second context is teaching Arabic in a content-based course. Ibtisam Arabi, we worked on literature, and I'm working on Arabic language variation, which is a linguistics course focusing on how dialects are similar or different. And we are doing the course in Arabic, but we are opening the space to Arabic dialects as well. And we are also looking at the rule of translanguaging, or the use of different dialects and also English in the negotiation of meaning at a macro level, when students study literature, study novels, short stories, poems, and they come from different language backgrounds. I think those who read the Modern Language Association report in 2007, they made an interesting case that the language content divide disregard the translingual competencies that learners come to the class with. In the context of Arabic, and I think most of those in the audience would agree with me, when students take an upper division language course, that's time for introducing literature, for introducing media, for introducing film, and the focus should be on standard Arabic, because these are the sophisticated topics, and then we have to work on mastering the stylistics and the grammatical structures of Arabic at these upper level courses. So the components or the proportion of the dialects gets less and less when we get to the upper division courses. This has been the norm in foreign language departments. Many critiques have been made to the content, language content divide, focusing on the communicative functions at the initial or in first year and second year, and then focusing on film and media in upper divisions. And now we are not really integrating the translingual competencies that second language learners come to the content-based instruction classrooms with. So taking this, Kern already talked about this, Maxim talks about this, and they have been making a clear case that this should not be the ideal way. We should also integrate other languages, even in in upper division courses. Of course, as I mentioned now, in Arabic, since the prestige and power is given to standard Arabic, so upper division courses should be associated for the most part with the standard when you go and study a course on media or literature. What we did with Ibtisam Arabi, Ibtisam designed a course that uses translanguaging as a pedagogy for teaching Arabic literature. And her students were a combination of heritage and non-heritage. She had 4 and 5. And the students in this course, they studied different literary pieces. They studied a novel, they studied short stories, and also they studied a number of poems. And then the philosophy of the course was to open this space for the different dialects and languages that students come with as they negotiate the meaning in this setting. So for this, we have been interested in the different interactions that happen between or among the learners themselves, or between the learners and the teacher, as they discuss complex notions like identity, religion, love, family connections, from the literary texts that were already presented in standard Arabic. And again, the standard ideology, if you come to this from the standpoint of the standard language ideology, standard Arabic should be here the target and the medium. By target, I mean we should walk the students to master standard Arabic in a content-based course, and also the interactions, the medium should be in standard Arabic. We are now showing that the dialects could be used also as the medium in that. I have to read this, and then I will show some insights. The students in this, they already studied a novel by Ali al-Muqri, and Ali al-Muqri is a Yemeni novelist. It's called The Handsome Jew in English, translated into Al-Yahudi al-Hayy. It's a story that's staged in 17th century Yemen, looking at the concept of identity and religion in a very interesting combination, where we have Fatima, who comes from a Muslim background. She falls in love with the Jew. His name is Salim. She has been teaching him Arabic, and he has been teaching her Hebrew. He was not super rich. The family was rich. And then he's looking at that literary rhetoric that goes beyond these notions of religion and affiliations. And this is an interaction between a number of students, they are heritage and non-heritage, discussing the relationship between Fatima and between Salim after she passed away. There was a debate where basically after she passed away, where she should be buried. Should she be buried in the Muslim tombs or in the Jewish tombs? So the novel itself is interesting in other contexts, but now let's focus on what happens in the interaction. So Majid, ما رأيكم لماذا حرك سالم عظام فاطمة? And I'm color coding here the Arabic varieties. This is in standard. أحلام, she speaks Sudanese. بعد كل السنين دي. She didn't say in standard بعد كل هذه السنوات. She used Sudanese Arabic, her native dialect. أكثر من 40 سنة, and then she shifted back to standard after more than 40 years. Jao was a Chinese student who speaks standard Arabic most of the time. He didn't study Arabic abroad. He doesn't have a dialect. كتب سالم حوليات اليهودية اليمني بعد 60 سنوات. It's mostly in standard Arabic, except for سنوات should be 16 سنة. So, and then he shifted to English. It's like pretty late for him to like يكتشف هويته بعد 60 سنوات. It's pretty late for him to discover his identity. But he put this segment in English, and then the discovery of the identity in standard, meshing the two of them at the sentence level. So I think it's fine for him to start rethinking about Fatima, like after all these years, and he's putting this in English. أحلام, هو كان, and she's seeing this in Sudanese Arabic, infatuated with her, code switching from English. So she does, or she doesn't know the meaning of the word infatuated with her, but she got infatuated with her from English and integrated this into the template that's in Arabic. الوقت ده كله. And then she continuing the template in Sudanese Arabic. لكن ما يعني, what is the significance of? and then she's translating ما معنى الوقت ده, and then she even said الوقت in standard, and then she used that from Sudanese. So even at that time she used وقت from standard and this from Sudanese at the phrase level. ماجد, أنا أتصور إحساس بأنه سيموت. He said this in Iraqi Arabic. أنا أتصور إحساس بأنه سيموت. يعني Iraqi, أحس أنه سيموت قريبا. And then he came back to standard again, talking about the same notion that he's gonna die soon. أحلام, Sudanese. عشان حس Sudani. Then she used عشان حس. He started to feel from her Sudanese Arabic. ماجد, لكن لما لا يدفن هو بالمقبرة اليهودية? Why he shouldn't be buried in the Jewish tomb? That's in standard. أحلام, هو اتدفن. ليه هو ما اتدفن في المقبرة اليهودية? Why wasn't he buried in the Jewish tomb? And she's saying this in Sudanese. ماجد answering in standard. يعني لماذا فعل كل هذا؟ كان من الممكن, and it was possible for him to. And then he said this in standard. أحلام يدفن في المقبرة اليهودية. It was possible for him to be buried in, completing the thought in Sudanese Arabic. The teacher was Egyptian, and she بس هو in Egyptian could switching to standard. بس هو مسلم الآن في المجتمع. And she said المجتمع with the جاه, not with the gah, and that was in standard. And then ماجد صحيح in فصحى. If you look at this, there is here a good combination of different dialects. English, looking at the good mixes from intersentential and intrasentential levels for the purpose of negotiating the identity of Salam and where he should be buried. The teacher, as I mentioned, opened the space for the use of all these different dialects and varieties that are within the classroom. She did not insist on using standard Arabic as a medium of communication. We have a good number of excerpts that all speak to the same notion, where we color-coded all these different dialects that second language learners of Arabic heritage and non-heritage, when they interact, they basically use all of them strategically to negotiate the constructs that the literary pieces were presenting. For the sake of time, I'm gonna skip some of these. And I want to spend some time about what we think about how do native speakers really interact, because the concept of the native speaker and how they speak has been in the field for some time. We know that Ustaz Monzir Yunus used the concept of educated spoken Arabic to use it as a starting point, and this is the model that we should be using to enable our second language learners of Arabic to speak Arabic in a functional way, in a dynamic way. Now, a friend of mine sent me a recent YouTube video, and it was a discussion among four university professors at Ain Shams University, and they were basically discussing a book by a journalist, مصر في عالم مضطرب, Egypt in a confused world. That's the title of the book. And then the four panelists were speaking to diverse populations in معرض الكتاب, in Egypt's book fair, معرض الكتاب في مصر, in Egypt, where they are negotiating the different concepts that the book presents. And I analyzed certain segments of the interactions. What I could find is there were no clear boundaries when they were discussing these complex notions in the book about Egypt. They were basically moving freely between Egyptian Arabic, Standard Arabic. Some of them are educated in Europe, so some of them already use some French words. So it was all over the place. They were not really sticking to Standard Arabic, although they were discussing a highly sophisticated topic that traditionally, classically speaking, should have been put in Standard Arabic. The populations, the audience were so diverse, university students, colleagues, different people. So perhaps they did not stick to standard for that purpose, but they know how to use these different resources that they have, if it's foreign languages, standard and Egyptian, to introduce the basic concepts that the textbook presents. So when you analyze it or you go to YouTube video nowadays and listen to the bloggers, I think you would get to the same picture that we have seen earlier in the interactions, where you find all these fluid moments where the boundaries between Standard Arabic and between the dialects of Arabic are no longer there. A key question in this discussion is, are they really aware when they do this? I think they do, because they already mastered the linguistic system of Standard Arabic and at least one dialect. So they do this consciously. They are aware that we have dialect and we have standard, and they do this for critical purposes, like showing something to the audience. I want to really get to the practice part, because that's where my passion is. If the case is second language learners of Arabic, they know how to use the different dialects and different languages that they come to the classroom with, then I think there is a need to build the dialectal competence bottom up. And by this, I mean, we work in a systematic way to introduce Arabic dialects. Al-Kitab does a good job in presenting Arabic dialects. Some people agree or disagree, but there is some room to address the dialectal competence of our second language learners in organized ways. Introducing the linguistic systems of Arabic dialects, all the sociolinguistic functions in the Arabic dialects, hoping that second language learners will be able to use them strategically as they navigate texts in Standard Arabic, as they navigate conversations in a content course like the one that we have been talking about, but also in daily interactions when they get to speak to speakers in the Arab world who come from different backgrounds. I think nowadays we have seen lots of interesting commentators on the World Cup. We have seen people from Saudi Arabia trying to speak in Saudi, and I understood it. We have seen with Morocco, we have seen lots of commentators speaking in Moroccan Arabic, and I have been able to interact and understand. There is some room now to open this space, to bring in the different Arabic dialects and varieties bottom up. And I have been working on a good number of initiatives in this regard. The first is a textbook by Georgetown University Press that's now in preparation. And it basically introduces contemporary Egyptian Arabic bottom up, the way you would look at the system of Arabic. We are looking at the lexical system of Arabic, the phonetic feature of Arabic, the syntactic features of Arabic, and we are also introducing culture and pragmatics, as presenting the speech acts. And the textbook is going to be color-coded when we are presenting all these sound variants that are pronounced differently in Egyptian Arabic from standard. So we are looking at the system of Egyptian Arabic as highly sophisticated, that comes with all these regional complexities, and it should be taught side by side with the standard. And as we are presenting this, we are taking transdialecting, which is how to use different dialects, to be the norm as the students study a textbook like this, or as they also study standard Arabic. The textbook also comes with a lot of texts that are in Egyptian Arabic. For some reason, dialects have been represented as oral. We are adopting a very different approach, getting authentic materials from real life and presenting them as written texts. And the students go and study them the way they would study standard Arabic. The second is a recent project called Embrace. It's an abbreviation for the enhancement of the multi-dialectal basis and resources for contemporary Arabic education. We are seeking funding to start a new textbook, as simple as such, contemporary Arabic, where we are presenting basically standard Arabic and the dialects in quite of a unique approach. We have a section called Dialectal Perspectives that speak to how Arabic dialects talk about the same themes of the textbook, the way you would do this in standard Arabic. We are not in support of using standard Arabic to talk about family, but we are in support of using standard Arabic to talk about the concept of family in Arab culture. Students will not be asked to talk walidi yamal. We are taking them to do all these things in dialectal Arabic, because this is how contemporary Arabic are used. And as the modules get to more complexity, they study dialectal perspectives about complex topics, like population, like economic situation, the political structure. So there is some room in the dialectal perspectives part to get to negotiate all these constructs in the dialect. So each module is engineered to have the textual component and the dialectal component. How many dialects? We are alternating between Egyptian, Levantine, Gulf, and Moroccan. So we submitted a proposal seeking funding from MSU, starting with 30K. Hopefully it gets funded soon. The third is Arabic language variation. And this is a course that teaches students Arabic language variation in Arabic. And I think Buthayna took this course with me when she was at the University of Arizona. The course basically introduces how standard Arabic and Arabic dialects are similar or different from three perspectives. The first is a linguistic perspective, where we start with introduction about the Arabic language. We'll get into syntax of standard Arabic, syntax of Egyptian, syntax of Levantine, and the students are studying all this in Arabic. The second, after they do this, we get into the discourse part of the course, where they basically analyze certain discourses or genres, and they look at the coexistence between standard Arabic and between the dialects within the same text, using the linguistic knowledge that they already built on. The third is a discourse perspective, which is we want to guide them to discover the discourse functions that motivate the use of standard and the dialects side by side. And this is basically a common activity that I use. This is a political speech by Jamal Abdel Nasser, who gave a speech that he gave in 1956, and basically where he used Egyptian Arabic and standard Arabic in quite a unique way. It's so common in discourse analysis studies in Arabic. And then where Abdel Nasser says, the students were asked to go over the text and then they analyze the aspects of Arabic language variation and try to think of the discourse purposes behind these mixes or switches. أيها المواطنون، منذ أن أعلنت مصر رئاستها الحرة المستقلة وبدأ العالم ينظر إلى مصر ويعمل لها حساب. So all this was in standard, and then you get into the concept of يعمل لها حساب, coding this or taking this from Egyptian Arabic, how the world should think seriously of Egypt. And then Nasser, he gets into the same thing again about حساب. بدأوا يعملوا للعرب حساب وللقومية العربية حساب. كنا زمان بنتلطع على مكاتبهم. All this is purely in Egyptian Arabic. And then he gets back again to standard Arabic. So students are guided in this course to analyze these courses like these. We have literary texts, we have political speeches, and also we have YouTube videos, where they analyze the coexistence between standard Arabic and the dialects for the discourse purposes. And the idea is to raise students' awareness of the cross-dialectal variations between Egyptian or standard, or between Levantine and the standard. And the students who cover the course, Buthayna may remember, we have heritage and non-heritage. So we open the space for the students to apply the linguistic knowledge that they already developed at the first third of the course on so many texts that come from all different parts of the Arab world. Could be Levantine, could be Gulf, could be also North African. Before I just open the space for the discussion, I would like to bring your attention to other initiatives that follow the same practice in mind, how we should advocate for multilingualism in the context of Arabic. Like Professor Ortega here has been doing a fantastic job in pushing the field and pushing for multilingualism and multilingual practices in different contexts, including Arabic. So at the University of Washington, St. Louis, I'm now working with Cindy Brentmeyer on a common initiative that's called the study of adolescent lives after migration to America, abbreviated as SLAMA, which means soundness and peace and safety in Arabic, where they organize a good number of webinars and events that work on the needs of those who migrate to the United States and they speak in Arabic dialect. I'm also co-editing a special issue on multilingual perspectives to Arabic as a second language with Emma Trentman at the University of Arizona, where we have a good number of contributions that to speak to how we should integrate Arabic dialects in different fields. It could be in different domains, could be in L2, could be in even in settings where students work with a conversation partners, like those who work in out classroom settings, K-12 and also L2. So it looks at all these different multilingual practices in the context of Arabic at different settings. With that, I would like to thank you very much for your attention, and I look forward to your questions.